Welcome back to Applied Algebra. We are continuing on in the factoring chapter, and today we're going to find binomial factors. So binomial factor, as it says, is a two-term factor. So we're going to take some trinomials or three expressions and divide them into two-term expressions. It's very important that you follow the steps there, especially the first step where we have to take out any kind of common monomial before we get going. So we'll go ahead and work on the first example. Factor the trinomial 3x squared plus 12x minus 36. So we want to look at that and say, okay, what do they have in common? 3 will go into 12 and into 36. So the first thing we want to do is take out a 3. You can ask yourself, is there any letters that they each have? And the first two have x's, but the third one doesn't, so I can't take that out. So I'm going to take the 3 out. When I take that out, I'm left with x squared in the first term. 12 divided by 3 is 4, still have the x, minus 36 divided by 3 is 12, and that one didn't have any x's. So that's my first step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that trinomial that I still have into two binomials. This 3 that I originally took out, it just kind of tags along down as we go. Now we have to think of some kind of way of organizing, or at least making sure our brain understands what's happening. When we did each with each, we multiply things out to come up with our trinomial, and we're trying to work that step backwards. After you do a few of those, what you notice is that these last two terms here and here, those multiplied to get your last term. So we are going to multiply to a negative 12. And I actually would let's actually just multiply to 12. We'll worry about the negative in a minute. So let's think of numbers that multiply to 12. It's 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and that's it. Okay? Now let's go ahead and go to the front. What times itself is x squared? That's x and x. X times x is x squared. Whatever this front sign is, you want to bring it straight down. Now ask yourself, a positive times a what makes a negative? Well, to get a negative, their signs have to be opposite, so a positive times a negative will give you a negative 12. Now I've made this list, so I'm going to ask myself, I'm going to pick the pair that subtracts, because that's a negative, to the middle number, which is a 4. So I have to subtract to 4. The two numbers that subtract to 4 are 2 and 6. So those are the numbers that are going to go in my parentheses. Because I need more positives, since that front number is a positive, we're always going to put the bigger number, which in this case is a 6, in the front, and then the other factor just goes in the back. Now, as stated here, we always want to make sure we check. So this is what we think the final answer is. So let's check ourselves. I'm going to ignore the 3 for a minute, and I'm going to do each with each. And actually, I'm going to come over here and do it, so I don't mess with where my answer is. So each with each. X times x, that's my x squared. X times negative 2, negative 2x. So I've done each of the x's times each of those. Now I'm going to do 6 times x, which is 6x. 6 times negative 2, negative 12. We're going to combine our like terms, and the x squared and the negative 12 don't have anything in common. So I'm going to end up with x squared plus 4x minus 12. Now remember, there was a 3 out front, so I would distribute the 3 through. So I get 3x squared, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 12 is 36. That is what I originally started with, so I did do it right. So this is my check step over here, and then this is what I think my answer should be. Okay, let's try the next one. X squared, 11x, and 12. So I'm going to ask myself, do they have anything in common? Well, the coefficient in front of x squared is a 1, so they aren't going to have any numbers in common. Do they all have an x? And the answer is no. So there is no common factor. So we're going to put these in parentheses. And I'm going to go ahead and split my x squared. Let's go ahead and take over our signs. Since that's a negative, we're going to make that a negative. So a negative times a what would give us a negative? A negative times a positive would give us a negative, because we always have to be opposites if we're going to negative. Again, we're going to multiply to 12. So that was kind of handy. I already have my list of 12, so I don't even have to think about it. Now I'm going to subtract. So pick the pair that subtract to 11. It's always the middle number. Well, the two that subtract to 11 are 12 and 1. The bigger number goes in the front, so that's a 12. The smaller number goes in the back. Now I can just check it. I'm going to go ahead and box it, and then I'll come over here and check it. It's x minus 12 times x plus 1. So x times x, that's my x squared. X times 1 is x. Negative 12 times x is negative 12x. Negative 12 times 1 is negative 12. If I put my stuff together, my like terms, I have a single x minus 12x, that's negative 11x. And then I have the minus 12. I can check that back up to my original, and that is what it was. So this is my answer. Okay, let's look at this third one. Same process. X squared, 15x, and 56. Since the number in front of x squared is a 1, they have nothing in common number-wise. Look at the x's. Does everybody have one? No, so there's no common factor. So I'm going to go ahead and split into my parentheses. I'm going to take my x squared and split them. Bring down the first sign. A positive times a what is a positive? Well, a positive times a positive is a positive. So now I need to multiply to 56. So I'm going to come over here and write down, and some people I know do this in their head, that's a personal preference. I usually write them down because I don't like to miss things and spend a bunch of time wondering what I missed. 3 won't work, 4 will work, it's 4 and 14, 5 doesn't work, 6 does not work, 7 is 7 and 8, 7 times 8 is 56, and that's it. Okay, so I know what multiplies to 8. Now notice this time the sign in front of your number is a plus, so we're going to add to 15. So which pair adds to 15? Well, that's 8 and 7. So 8 and 7 add to 15. I'm going to put the large number in the front and the smaller number in the back. So I think this is my answer. Now you might be asking yourself, does it really matter who you put in the front? And it doesn't if your signs are the same, it won't make a difference, but if your signs are different, then it does, so just be careful. So I'm going to go ahead and check it. And whether you check it or not is up to you, depending on how comfortable you are with this method. X times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 7 is 56. X squared plus 15x plus 56, which was the original, so it checked. Okay, so as you have time, go ahead and work on 10.3. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good day.